Hey guys, who do I got here?
What's up, boys and girls? It's tea time. Here with Alex Thunderpants Vansant, False Reality Games.
Alright, just got a few questions to do an interview. What do you consider a misplay?
I think that there's a difference between mistakes and misplays. Mistakes are a kind of misplay, but they are not the be-all, end-all of misplays. A lot of people who make misplays don't understand that they made them because they, in their mind, conceptualize what they did to be correct, but they don't understand that it was wrong. A misplay, I feel, most commonly occurs when you make a read or decision based on something that is incorrect or over something that is highly unlikely, like you make a read that simply just isn't there or couldn't be there. However, making a decision between two things that are very probable and realistically justifiable, and selecting A or B, and being wrong does not necessarily make it a misplay. But if there was more evidence to suggest that it was A and you selected B, then in a way, and it was kind of a misplay. But obviously the most blatant misplays are just mistakes, like running out of room with a wind-up loop, just being goofy like that, doing something silly, not removing rabbit when torrential happens, or,
Now, do you think this is what separates pro players from, like, emerging players who could be pro?
I feel as though, and with the argument of being a pro player, I think that the biggest stepping stone is the fact that most people don't know what they don't know. A lot of the people who think that they are good, once you believe that you know everything, you have hit mediocrity. And as soon as you understand that you know nothing, you're on your way to becoming a pro.
Right.
And once you start to learn beyond what is, like if you look at yourself and go, I don't make any misplays because I don't make mistakes in my game. Congratulations, you've just hit mediocrity.
Right.
Now, once you go beyond that, once you start understanding the decisions that you make in a game, like whatever you do on turn one will alter the state of the game for you for the rest of the game. Once you start thinking, through more levels, not just playing your own cards correctly, but understanding what your opponent's playing and how to play against it, and how to broadcast what you're playing to suggest that you're playing something different or making a different move than you're actually making to set up a greater move in the future, or maybe even trapping your opponent. I like to trap my opponents a lot of times. I like to showcase them doing one thing and then hit them with something else.
Right.
That's not everyone's style. A lot of people, some people just play YuGiOh. And my greatest suggestion to a lot of people who are on their way to becoming, a top-level player is that they need to not overthink everything. You're not always going to be able to make a read. Sometimes there's no read to make.
Right.
If your opponent just sets 3 back rows and a monster, first of all, you don't know that they have Starlight Road. They could have Solemn Judgment. They could just be saying, I sure hope you don't have Heavy. You can't necessarily read that monster is Sanguine. You don't know what they're playing.
Right.
That could be Geargia Armor. That could be Snowman Eater. That could be a bluffed controller. That could be Lindy. That could be anything. And to assume, like, a lot of people will see that and be like, oh, I don't want to play into Torrential Sanguine. It's like, okay, but you don't know that they have that. And to assume that they have that, I did a probabilities article earlier, and the statistical odds of them having a 2-in-1 combination of a sample size of 6 is low. And for you just to automatically assume that would be stupid. What you should actually do is consider what would put you in a better position, considering that in that situation you would have to assume that they have maybe one more playable monster, and they have lots of back rows. But if you can start getting aggressive, might be a good idea. And it might not be a good idea to charge completely in, but if you can maintain some monster advantage, like you can control a monster on the field against them, you might have an advantage because their back rows are likely cards like Solemn Warning, Bottomless Trap, etc. So
Now, with Abyss Rising having come out within the last 2 weeks here, what do you think of the set, and how do you think it's going to affect Seattle this weekend?
The two archetypes that you're really going to want to look at right now are Spellbooks and Mermails, Mermail Atlantean.
Which one do you think is better?
Hands down, Atlantean Mermail. That deck is too good. Wind-ups cannot compete anymore. You might as well sell your YuGiOh stuff now. I don't think that deck has a chance anymore. It's too passive of a deck. Back when the most aggressive deck was Wind-ups, that deck could hang in there. And I think that YuGiOh was a deck that largely ran around your opponent not understanding the YuGiOh deck itself. Now the people have an understanding of it. It's not nearly as good. That's why a while ago I thought the gadgets were better. So now looking at wind-ups, I think that they're slower and less control-based than the Mermails. And if you want to look at Mermails from the perspective of a deck, when Dark Worlds came out, everyone was all about them because everyone knows that Dark World is a very, very good deck. Once it starts going, you can't beat it.
Right.
But, it beats itself. Mermails don't have that problem. They can play... They're like a very good version of Dark World. And their worst matchup, coincidentally, is Dark World.
Yeah.
So...
Now, with people playing Mermails this weekend and possibly Spellbooks, do you have any suggestions for attack or side deck stuff to possibly fight those two archetypes?
Yes. First of all, with Spellbooks, don't be too concerned with them drawing lots of cards, because they're going to draw lots of cards. Like, that's just what... Like, they're going to gain lots of advantage, but they gain a lot of nothing. So, they're not really going to be making gigantic explosive plays every turn like Wind-ups might do against you, or like, Mermails might do against you, but they are going to have card advantage pretty frequently. To stop them, just get aggressive. The best way to beat both of those decks is to be very aggressive.
Right.
If you want to beat Mermails, the way you have to win in the first 2 or 3 turns. So you're going to want to go as hard as you can right on them. Don't be conservative. They don't play a lot of back rows. Just be super, super aggressive, and don't be scared.
Yeah.
If they get the chance to set up, you're not going to win. So just go crazy as soon as you possibly can. And for side deck, for your side deck, against the Spellbook deck, I mean, standard stuff, Thunder whatever, you just... I don't think...
Yeah, Thunder King
just play around it.
Right.
Basically, the deck isn't too hard to beat. Obviously, Effect Veiler against...
Mermails.
Against Mermails.
Which is probably going to be the big deck.
The big one. You're going to want to do Soul Drain. You're going to want to do Macrocosmos, D-Fissure. A lot of people are going to play Dino Rabbit with Macrocosmos. So if you are a Mermail player, the cards that you should be siding are, first of all, and I had this debate whether you should side Decree or Malevolent Catastrophe all the way, because it works with your back rows, it works with Gores, it works with Sphere. Decree shuts down Sphere, and it also deals with cards like that face-up D-Fissure, and it can really blow through those cards. And another card that you should be siding is probably Shadow Imprisoning Mirror for the Dark World match, because you realistically can't do Soul Drain, D-Fissure, Macrocosmos, etc. So Shadow Imprisoning Mirror becomes a pretty decent card in itself. And against the Mirror match, you kind of just gotta take my advice and get aggressive on them as fast as you can and win faster.
Now we have a new card coming out this weekend. Would you like to show them what it is?
It's not really a card so much as it is a token. It's me.
Where can they get these tokens?
They can get these at the ARG booth. This is me as a Machine and Gear frame. There are 5 of them. There's Cordero as Crissia. There's Joe Gerlando as Stratos. There's me as Gear frame. There is Jeff Jones as Drill Warrior. And there's Billy Brake as X-Saber Airbellum. So if you want to get these, come to the ARG booth. They have a thing here. We'll sign them. They're really cool. They're limited edition, so make sure you get them while you can.
Great. You want to take us out?
I mean, with you want some advice for tomorrow?
Sure.
My overall advice for this format right now, where there's a lot of decks, is if you want to win, you can't just know your deck. You need to know every deck and how to play against it and how to play with it. So if you know how to play with the deck, you know how to beat it. And once you know how to beat it, then you can start winning. Because that way, even if you have a bad hand, you know what's going on in their head. You know what's going on with their deck. What's being, what they're trying to accomplish. And if you can stop them from doing that while accomplishing your own goals, you're going to do very well in this tournament and you're going to win. Especially if you're playing Mermails, Spellbooks, and Wind-Up's second best shot along with Dino Rabbit with Macrocosmos.
Predictions for tomorrow? What's going to take it all?
Mermails. I think this, but other decks that are going to top a lot, Spellbooks. It's going to be Spellbooks, Wind-Ups, a little bit. Wind-Up not as much as before, but it'll just kind of stay the way it is. But they can main D-Fissures. Dino Rabbit will make a comeback with Macrocosmos, and I think, actually, despite my bias, Machina Gadgets have been very popular lately. People have been playing them over Georgia, and I think that they're going to take Georgia's place in the top as a more aggressive deck. So.
Great, man.